You walk into the room and it feels busy, but not alive. People are talking, some are laughing. The sound fills the space, but it feels thin, like noise without weight. Conversations overlap, chairs move, cups are lifted and placed down again. Everything looks normal, and still something feels off. You cannot maim it at first. There is no tension, no fear, no silence. Yet the room feels tired, like it has been used too much. There is one person who seems very involved. They are always close to someone, leaning in, listening, smiling. They react quickly, too quickly. When someone shares something, they respond right away. When someone jokes, they laugh. When someone looks unsure, they soften their voice. On the surface, they look kind, supportive, present. But the feeling around them is strange. The more they interact, the heavier the room feels. You start to notice how the energy moves. When they enter a conversation, it grows louder, more emotional. People explain more, share more, reveal more. They talk about their problems, their worries, their hopes. The person listens closely, nods, asks gentle questions, encourages them to continue. And the more others give, the calmer this person becomes. They do not share much themselves. When asked, they give short answers, safe answers, nothing that costs them anything. They turn the focus back to the other person, again and again. The flow is one way, toward them. After a while, you notice small changes. Someone who spoke a lot now looks tired. Someone who was excited seems slower. Someone who laughed easily now sits quietly. No one looks hurt, no one looks angry, they just look drained. The room does not explode, it slowly sinks. The person at the center looks comfortable, relaxed, almost peaceful. While others lose energy, they seem to gain it. Their posture stays open, their voice stays steady, their attention never drops. They move smoothly from one person to another like they know exactly where to go next. No one thinks anything bad is happening. This person feels helpful, needed, important. People are grateful for them. They say things like, "You're such a good listener," or "I don't know what I'd do without you." The person accepts this quietly, with a soft smile. You feel it now. The room is not being attacked, it is being fed on, slowly, politely. No one notices the cost, but something is being taken, and it is not being returned. This is where Jung would begin to watch more closely. Not the room, not the people, but the need underneath. Jung would look at what is missing inside the person who feeds. He would not ask what they want from others, he would ask what they cannot give themselves. The parasite does not feel full on their own. There is a quiet emptiness that follows them. When they are alone, it grows louder. Silence feels heavy. Stillness feels unsafe. They need contact, not for joy, but for balance. Without others, they feel like they fade. Jung would call this an unconscious hunger, not planned, not chosen. The person may not even know it is there. They just know they feel better when someone is close, when someone listens to them, when someone needs them. That feeling is relief, temporary relief. The shadow lives here, the part of the self that feels weak, small, or scared of being nothing. Most people do not want to see that part. They push it down, they distract themselves, they build a life to avoid it. But the parasite finds another way. They attach. When someone shares emotion, the parasite feels calmer. When someone depends on them, they feel solid. When someone looks to them for comfort, advice, or understanding, the emptiness goes quiet. Not gone, just quiet. For a while. Jung would notice how this pattern repeats. The parasite is always near someone in pain, someone confused, someone open. They do not create closeness, they move into it, they slide into emotional gaps. They stay where feeling is already exposed. They are not cruel, not cold. Often they are gentle, soft-spoken, patient. They learn how to listen because listening keeps the other person talking, and talking keeps the connection alive, and the connection feeds them. But there is a cost. The parasite does not return the same depth. They mirror feelings, they support, but they do not truly meet the other person. Their attention has a purpose, even if they do not see it. It keeps them from feeling empty. Jung would say the danger is not the hunger itself. Everyone has needs. The danger is when the need stays unconscious, when the person never learns to sit with their own emptiness, and they never learn to carry their own weight. So the shadow keeps feeding, quietly, politely, through empathy that takes more than it gives, through closeness that feels warm but leaves others tired. From the outside, it looks like care. From the inside, it is survival. Jung would not judge this person. He would simply see it clearly. A self that has not learned how to stand alone. A hunger that wears the face of connection. This is where Nietzsche would begin to watch energy. Not kindness, not intention, energy. He would ask a simple question. Who creates life in the room, and who lives from it? Who stands on their own, and who needs others to feel real? The parasite does not feel strong alone. When they are by themselves, their sense of self feels thin, unstable. They do not trust it. So they move toward people who feel alive, people with emotion, people with stories, people with problems. They attach to that life like it is a source of heat. Nietzsche would not call this evil. He would call it weakness. Not as an insult, but as a condition. A person who cannot generate their own force looks for it elsewhere. They borrow strength, they borrow feeling, they borrow meaning. They survive by proximity. You can see it in how the parasite chooses. They are drawn to expressive people, open people, people who feel deeply. The more intense the emotion, the better. Joy, pain, fear, hope. It does not matter. What matters is that something is flowing, and they position themselves right next to it. When they are close, they feel alive. Their posture improves, their voice steadies, their presence becomes calm. Others notice it without knowing why. They think the parasite is grounded, supportive, stable. But this stability is not self-made, it is borrowed. Nietzsche would notice the imbalance. One person grows lighter, another grows heavier. One speaks more, another listens without giving back. Over time, the expressive person slows down. They become quieter, less certain. The parasite remains steady. This is not done with force, it is done with closeness. The parasite does not dominate, they depend. But dependence can still drain, especially when it repeats. Nietzsche would say this is a quiet form of survival. The parasite has chosen closeness over strength, attachment over independence. They do not want to stand alone, they want to lean, and leaning feels good when someone else holds the weight. They do not hate the people they feed on, often they care for them. But care does not stop the pattern. The feeding continues because it works, because without it, the parasite feels empty again. Nietzsche would see this clearly. A person who avoids standing alone will always circle those who can. They will stay close, they will stay needed, they will stay fed. This is why the parasite rarely leaves, why they stay connected long after the other person feels tired. The connection is not just emotional, it is vital. Nietzsche would say this is not cruelty, it is dependence dressed as closeness, a way of living that takes energy instead of creating it. And as long as the flow continues, the parasite feels alive. This is where Machiavelli would stop caring about feelings and start watching outcomes. He would not ask if the parasite means well. He would ask what happens over time, who changes, who adjusts, who loses space, who gains it. The parasite does not meet a plan, but a pattern still forms. People begin to rely on them. They check in more often. They share first. They wait for replies. Slowly, the parasite becomes a point of balance in the room, not because they lead, but because others lean. Machiavelli would notice how this creates quiet influence. When someone depends on you emotionally, they give you power without realizing it. They shape their behavior around your presence. They avoid upsetting you. They stay close. They explain themselves. The parasite does not ask for this. it arrives on its own. The parasite listens carefully. They remember details, weak spots, fears, habits. Not to attack, to maintain the flow. They know who needs reassurance, who needs attention, who fears being left. They give just enough to keep the connection alive. Over time, people start to feel responsible for the parasite's well-being. They worry if they pull away. They feel guilty if they need space. The parasite never says, "Don't leave." They do not need to. The structure already exists. Machiavelli would call this effective. Influence without force, control without command. The parasite gains access to people's time, emotion, and attention. Others give it freely, believing it is care. The parasite benefits in small ways. They are always included, always informed, always needed. They are rarely alone. Their emptiness stays quiet as long as the system holds, and the system does hold, because breaking it costs others more than it costs the parasite. Leaving feels cruel, distance feels wrong, people stay longer than they should. Machiavelli would see this clearly. Power does not need cruelty, it only needs position. And the parasite has found a position where others orbit them. This is not domination, it is dependence arranged into a pattern. One person feeds, others adjust. No one names it, no one plans it, but it works. The parasite survives by closeness, and closeness, once it becomes necessary, is hard to escape. Until the next observation.